Hey everybody, so we got an early start today because honestly it's just crazy busy and I'm doing so many things. I feel sometimes torn with all the things that I'm doing, but I think it's really important for us to keep the YouTube channel going and keep these live question and answers. We're a little early today, so I will apologize ahead of time to those who are expecting us at 3, but we had 4, but we had to do a little adjusting, and we understand Janine isn't with us live, which is that's an unusual thing, isn't it, Patrick?
Yeah, 3 a.m.
3 a.m.
Did she wait up just for us?
I don't think so. Maybe
she's upholstering.
She's upholstering, right? In her sleep, she's counting sofas over the fence. She's on 100th sofa, and then she put the YouTube channel on. I don't know. But I'm just having a little coffee before we get going. A little sip of coffee here and there. We do have a lot to cover, even though there weren't a lot of questions or comments. We still have a lot to do. We've added some content that I think we've been getting some positive feedback. One of them is my work orders, and remind me, Patrick, to talk about the San Francisco sofa. I got an update on that.
Oh, you do?
Yes,
That's
I do.
An interesting story.
Wait, yeah, Patrick doesn't even know the update, but I will talk about that. That's a really interesting story. And you know, who says upholstery's boring? It really, we get to meet all kinds of interesting people through the pieces of furniture. Usually, that's how we meet people.
That's what I'd say. I said to cut you off. Before Janine goes to sleep, why don't you address her? She's a question on there.
Oh, okay.
So while she's on the YouTube, I think it was a comment. It was about Jimmy. I thought it was funny.
You want to do that now?
Yeah, read her comment.
Oh, Janine has a comment here.
Yeah.
Janine says,
it's about Jimmy in the town.
Great question and answer as usual. This was last week. To answer your question, my question was from Jimmy's, what was Jimmy's appearance and his body language, because I've never seen it. I keep missing it. I'll put it on.
I haven't seen it. I don't know how she spotted him.
Well, I always put it on too late. He's in the beginning of the movie. He's in the opening of the movie. How did he get in the opening of a movie like that?
What did she say, though? She said something interesting.
Usually in James Bond openings, it's very, you can imagine. That's what captures the audience is the opening, right, Patrick?
Yeah.
And they use Jimmy to capture the audience. I think he's underplaying his role in that movie, you know that? Or maybe I'm overplaying it. I don't know. We like Jimmy. He's a good sport. Mainly he's a good sport, but he's a good guy too. He's not here today, so he get a chance to talk to him.
Maybe he'll come in at the end. Usually gets in.
I don't know, Patrick. That's kind of...
Maybe not.
Yeah, it'd probably be long over by the time he gets here. But that's okay. Once in a while... Because we could talk about him in a good way when he's not here. Usually when he's here, we like to poke a little fun at him, and he's a good sport that way. That's why we do it. I mean, it's kind of this thing that we have going. Anyhow, Janine says, to answer your question, Kevin, Jimmy was on screen only for a few seconds. Didn't he tell us it was a few minutes?
Oh, I thought it was a few hours.
2 hours he was on. Within the first minutes of the town. But his body language was very strong and professional as he was talking to a co-worker in his guard uniform. Looking forward to watching this chair in the online classes, but I'm hoping his love seat is coming up very soon.
Yeah, so we're gonna all of next month. We're gonna edit that and hope to have it up by around the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Make it a holiday class.
As usual, we want to thank Janine for being such a strong supporter of ours. All the way over in Australia. Maybe someday our world tour, Patrick, will happen and we can go around visiting people who've supported us like that. Wouldn't that be fun? We assume that they'd want us in their house.
Well, I want to go to Australia regardless, so.
Yeah, I know you do. You want to go to Bondi and be a lifeguard, right?
But Kayla wants to go to the Steve Irwin Zoo.
Oh, okay. There's things to do over there. The Bondi lifeguard. You want to be a Bondi lifeguard. She wants to be a zookeeper over there. Is that it? The only two things in Australia?
I think we'll have to wait a little bit longer, though.
Yeah, I think so. Australia's still in Janine. Is still in lockdown over there, Patrick, or something?
I think it depends on where she lives.
What principality? What do they call those over there? Principalities?
Providence? I don't know.
No, neither one of those. I know that. Whatever. But wish everybody good luck over there, and prayers are with everybody that's under a lockdown right now. Or
she said, yes, come to Australia.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to wait for this, but I wanted to catch up on some business, Patrick. Are we at 16,000 subscribers yet?
No, we're getting close.
We're lagging a little bit on that. I think people, we need to remind people that to subscribe if you already have, and if you're watching this by chance.
Yeah.
I mean, we get a lot of one-offs. You know, people, wanting to know how to fix a button, for instance. Well, I don't think they're subscribing. I think they're just more or less.
Yeah, that pop button video is really blowing up.
It is, but
really
hey,
blown up.
if they're going to find out about pop button, why don't they push the button, which is the subscribe
I
button?
think it's called New South Wales. Is the name of the channel, or maybe
Maybe we should do a video about how to press a button, to subscribe.
No.
Maybe we'll show people how to do that with a slip knot, huh, Pat?
Yeah, we did that though.
No, I'm talking about the subscribe button on their little.
Nobody would subscribe. It's too hard.
Well,
I don't even know how to do that.
talking about it is one way to get people to subscribe, because it is important.
Hey, Randy.
Of the close to 2 million views that we have, 15,000 people have subscribed. What's that all about?
I think we're doing good. We need to catch back up. I'm sitting on at least one video that I have to put up there. It was a good one. If you, what was the one we did? It was a good one.
We're in the middle of an A to Z, which we've lagged on that one too. See, we're so busy, you guys. We do have a shop to run, and we're dependent on the income we make from the work. So you can imagine the pressures of a small business owner. And I think I'm going to talk a little bit about that. It's something that happened recently with that sofa, that San Francisco sofa, but just how much stress. There is stress. I mean, we all have stress. Everybody has stress. You go to the doctor to complain about stress, he'll look at you and say, welcome to the human race, we all have stress. But
I'm looking forward to hear what happened.
in particular, when you have so much invested in one piece of furniture, which could be thousands of dollars, and then something happens, and as a small business, it's really can affect a small business. That's stress. I'm not going to say it could knock you out of business, but I'll tell you something, it just makes the struggle work harder. And we had something that happened that could have been a nightmare, but our customers were just fabulous. I mean, they weren't. We have great customers overall, and these two were really took everything in their stride, which was amazing, because I think even if it happened to me, I'd be looking at it going, this is a disaster. I'll tell you about it. And it's interesting that it's associated with one of the biggest disasters that this North America's ever had, which is the
if you're saying that, then it doesn't sound like the story ended good.
Which is the San Francisco earthquake. I knew something was going to happen. I had a feeling. I thought what was going to happen.
We'll start from the beginning.
Well, I want to finish up with what I usually do. Jimmy was here. He's the administrator of the Facebook. I'll get back to the opening. Usually we go over a few things business-wise. So we continue to do really well on the Facebook page, right, Patrick?
Yep.
And really getting a lot of people on the Facebook. And I think
I want to thank the people who have been commenting, because we kind of don't. You try to comment,
right?
But like you said, we're so busy.
Well, we do a lot on the question. We answer somebody.
We answer everything on these.
Yeah, somebody thanked us for answering a question last week about the form.
Yeah, but there's people on there who have to thank who'll do it.
Yeah, they're doing it.
Right
Jimmy responds in his generic way sometimes.
Yeah, there's a lot of other good ones,
which is fine, and people help one another, which is the whole idea of the Facebook, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of give us a little bit of a break from having to answer all the inquiries. We do get a lot. And also our customers' inquiries, which, by the way, out of 100, we may get 50. No, I don't think it's that great. Any salesperson who said out of 100 sales calls they get 50 of them would go, what? That would be fabulous. I think with us it's about 25%. Wouldn't you say, you guys?
Right.
I would say it's about 25.
So, yeah.
And that's really good, because a lot of times, if you guys ever seen the movie, you guys should check out the movie Glenn Carey, Glenn Ross. It's all about people who people who sell siding, salespeople, and I think in that I learned, if you get a 2.5% to a 5% response, or sit to make the sale, that's really good. Out of 100, can you believe it, you guys? I guess it depends on the item. If you're selling Scotch tape, you would want 99 people. It depends on the ticket of the item, which is interesting because it does all tie into what I do, and I think I'm going to get to that later too.
Interesting Janine fact: she's a psychologist.
I didn't know that.
I'd like for her to analyze Jimmy in one of these.
She like this.
So you get a diagnosis for Jimmy.
Wow. Let's not go there. Well, you know what? I would ask Janine, how do you explain? We've talked about Jimmy's heroics, and he gave me permission to talk about that. How do you explain a guy that would jump in, and Jimmy loves life, I know that, but he saved that guy at the tunnel down there in front of the train. And how do you explain that? If you haven't heard the story, I mean, Jimmy was.
Wait till he's here to maybe next time.
Well, we did tell with him.
He tells it in a good way.
Let him tell it, right? Yeah. But as far as the Facebook, thank you for that. Thank you for joining the Facebook. Thank you, Jimmy, out if he's watching. He'll be coming in soon.
He's probably driving.
What were we talking about, Patrick? Should we go back to the question?
I think you addressed the Facebook, so we're all caught up.
Yeah. Well, why don't I tell the story of the San Francisco?
I want to know what happened with that. I helped you deliver that.
So we get this. I'm excited when I get jobs in that are related to famous people. We have a job coming in that. It belonged to H.R. Haldeman. If you guys don't know who that is, he was the chief of staff in the Nixon administration. And it's a love seat that we're getting soon, and that would be interesting, associated with that era, the 70s. But with this sofa, it was a beautiful sofa that we got it survived the San Francisco earthquake. And when I first got this job, I'm saying to myself, if I do something to this sofa, like drop it in a way and it breaks, or it falls off the horses, or I was I had all kinds of nightmares surrounding this sofa. It usually doesn't happen, but karma is something that might happen with pieces of furniture. It survived an earthquake, and I'm thinking, what if it doesn't survive me? What if I do something to this sofa that survived an earthquake, and wouldn't that be awful, Patrick? Wouldn't that be? But I also had a vision. I was joking with the wife. I said, they're going to find me at the bottom of this sofa. It's going to fall off the horses, and my sneakers, my ruby sneakers, would be peeking out from underneath the sofa. But you know what, Patrick? I had premonitions about this sofa. I did, and it came out beautiful, right, Patrick?
I assume the sofa's fine.
Well, you don't know what happened. Why don't you wait? It's actually good news. But
I assume. Oh, it's good news. Okay.
But, guys, so Patrick and I, picking this sofa up, not many men, the two men that own this sofa together couldn't pick one end of the sofa up, I don't think. And I don't think they'd mind me saying that. I really don't. They're a little older than me. But this was a very heavy. How much would you say that sofa weighed, Patrick?
No, I couldn't even.
I'm going to tell you, it's about 500 pounds. And 500 pounds for a sofa is very heavy, and you think it's dead weight and it's unstable weight. It's heavy on the back than it is. And to make matters worse, they had 6 heavy legs with casters.
Well, that kind of helped, though.
It helped in some way, but not in handling it while I was upholstering it, because legs with that much weight can snap very easily, even though they're made of solid oak. So there was a lot about this project that worried me. The handling of this project. And Pat, remember how hard a time we had that going through the door, right?
Yeah.
You can't handle it in a normal fashion. Like the sofas today, I could pick up with one finger.
Did you take a picture of it then? I'm trying to get a picture of it.
I have a picture.
Oh,
getting to that.
Send that to me now so I can put it on the... You want to text it to me?
Oh, yeah.
It'd be nice people to know what we were talking about.
Let me do that.
Oh, you a picture of what happened at the end? Well, I don't want to look at it now. I'm going to tell.
They did not send the picture. There's a happy ending, and they wait till you guys see it.
I wish I had a picture of the sofa to show.
So let me tell the story. So the customers moved from a house to a condominium, and it was a brand new condominium in a local, very affluent community, and I pull up, we have the sofa, we had to rent a special van for the sofa, and I had to put it in the sofa in a special way so it wouldn't move. And we pull up a brand new condominium. I mean, like, Patrick even made a comment, the smell of it was brand new. So we park, we wheel it into the front door, and we're going down a hallway, and there's the manager of the building waiting for us at the end and he says, "That's not going in my elevator." And I was kind of stunned, weren't you, Patrick? He said,
I don't know what to think.
He said, "That's not going to fit in my elevator, and if you put one scratch on my elevator, I'm going to charge you $50,000, right?"
That's when I walked away.
That's when I said, "Well, he's scaring me." I said to him, "You're scaring me." So here it comes, right? It comes the San Francisco earthquake to a sofa to a traumatic ending, right?
Wow.
and this is it. I'm going to go into an elevator and scratch it and get charged $50,000. Now that's going to put me out of business. That would definitely put me out of business for sure. But anyhow, and I look at this elevator, and I've never seen an elevator quite like this elevator, you guys. Think Tiffany's. That's why it looked like something out of a fairy tale. It was brand new. There were
Sofa's up on the screen right now for everyone to see.
There were mirrors everywhere. It looked like there were even diamond studs around the mirrors. I mean, it was insanely beautiful, and they had it covered with these little flimsy. Remember the flimsy things they had to cover with, Patrick? They had some covering, but it wasn't even covering the whole thing, so I could see.
I don't remember.
Little flimsy, little like a good carpet, a good blanket that we use for a moving blanket is thick. It's like a quilt. These were the little thin ones. If you touched it, you probably would have broke the mirror. It wasn't well done at all. And so I'm looking at it. Guy's measuring it for me. This is not going to fit in. And I look at my customer. I said, now what do we do? I said, I'm not even going to try. This guy's got me all nervous. So the guy says, well, you're going to have to hire a crane to bring the sofa in, Patrick. Remember?
Yeah, I remember that.
So
I remember that conversation.
So
that's when we left.
That was it for us with our delivery. I mean, at that point, it was kind of like we could wash our hands, which I was a little relieved at that point, but still nervous for the sofa and for the customers. I wanted to make sure that it got up there all right. So we had to push it down to a hall, and it stayed until, now that was last week, and I got a message today from the clients, and they said, success, the Gentle Giant, which is the furniture company, guys got it in 5 minutes.
Oh, they did use a crane.
Yep, your work looks absolutely beautiful in the room. Thank you.
And I have the picture. I put the picture up.
Thank you. He's got the picture up. I just responded. Woo! W-H-E-W.
Well, look at this. I can see the windows in the back. Look like they had a big window to get it through.
Yeah, but can you see the view too? That's 4 stories up.
Wow.
But it looks beautiful in there, doesn't it, guys?
I wish you got. Did they take a picture of the sofa on the crane?
I don't know. I didn't get that.
That would have been kind of cool to have.
I didn't get that.
I'm surprised they didn't do it.
I know. Well, just to let people know that used to be a leather tufted sofa when it was in San Francisco. And somebody changed it. It wasn't me. Somebody changed it out to look like an upholstered back with the cushions. And the cushions they had were just regular foam cushions. We switched to a spring and down cushion in that. And those 2 cushions are springing down. And it really is absolutely beautiful. The customer's happy. That thing ain't going to be moving out of there for a long time, Patrick.
Randy says, this is why I do not do pickup or delivery except on small items.
Yeah.
I give them names of local moving companies.
Yeah, well, Randy, sometimes the price, for service, just for from a standpoint, I probably should have done it on this one now that I think of it. But for customer service reasons, we do it, and we're able to do it at this point, right, Patrick?
At this point.
But
of course, now we don't have a... Eventually, we don't have a van.
Our van is in the shop. Anybody know a good van for cheap? Send it over, Janine. Send it over, will you?
They don't exist, unfortunately.
Sorry, guys, I don't usually drink coffee in front of you, but today's been one of those days. I'm taking a thermos now with coffee. I saved some money.
He said great views with a bunch of money signs in the end.
What's that?
He said great views.
Yeah.
With money signs there. I thought he was referring to the apartment or the sofa. They're both expensive.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So let's get to some more questions. Unless somebody has any questions about the sofa or follow-up. Do you have any questions, Patrick, about...
Well, I'm glad it ended in a good note. I thought you were going to say they couldn't even get it up on the crane.
5 minutes. What we should talk about is where was the profitability? Was there profitability in that? Because we had to rent a van. We spent time over there in the delivery process, 2 men in a van.
Although, the van thing, we can't really count that because we needed that anyway.
That's true. Usually when we have to rent a van, but renting a van in the New England area around when school opens with all the colleges, forget about it. We went we went to Penske. Penske's usually about $50, $60 a day plus mileage. They were going up to, you won't believe this, they were going up to $450 a day on Penske's. Can you believe that, Patrick?
Mm-hmm.
Right around when all of the school is opening in Boston and surrounding areas, when all the kids want, and then they end up inevitably, there's one person that goes down to a road called Stowe Drive in the Boston area and gets the truck stuck underneath the bridge.
I saw it happen. I was behind one.
Patrick saw it
I have it
happen?
on video.
You're kidding.
Yeah, I was going to see Michaela at college one day,
Wow.
and he didn't get stuck. He went right to the bridge and had to reverse down the whole road.
Well, you
The cop
know,
showed up and had to get him. I'm sure they gave him a big ticket.
he probably should have went fast. Einstein proved that if you go the speed of light, that the object actually gets smaller. So maybe if he went
That
faster,
was a Willy Wonka.
so if he went faster, maybe he would have got under. I don't know.
Randy says 150 is average, 2 guys one way.
And that's cheap when you think about it, you know. But that's good. Where's Randy? Where's Randy from?
I know he said it, but I always forget. A lot of people keep
Oh
up.
no, Wisconsin, I think. Right, Randy? Wisconsin.
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty
I don't
sure.
want to assume. I have no idea.
I think no, I'm not assuming. The letter he sent, I think, and I think he's mentioned it before. So, those are Wisconsin prices. I'm not sure if they're more than Boston prices or less, but that
I'll
seems.
tell you what, the roads in Wisconsin are like. They're almost fun to drive on.
Why is that?
They're in the middle of nowhere. You have to worry about people. You know, this you're in the city. I'm just saying it's a lot different out there. We have to go through small city Massachusetts roads and everything.
Well, Massachusetts roads, what you have to remember, they were old Indian paths and cow paths. So, you know.
That's another.
But
We
you're
talk
coming-
about that too in terms of the van size. It's
Yeah.
something we can consider.
Yeah, you can't get in a lot of places. I was in a place with the Jeep, Patrick, that hardly get in the driveway with the Jeep, a small Jeep Cherokee, an old one. But, so if you know, when they first came over here, the Puritans, they landed down in Plymouth, and the other group, there was another group that came in. They weren't so.
Well, Randy's in Milwaukee, so that's
Right.
city area. So.
And then later on, the second wave came a little bit later and settled Boston. They were not Puritans. They were out. They were all about money, I think.
Not delivery trucks, not meant for delivery.
Well, this 1600. So when they got off, they followed the paths that were the Native Americans, would take, and the Native Americans' paths were, at the Standing Boulder, you take a left, at the oak tree, you take a right, and that's exactly how the streets are laid out. They haven't changed, except that the trees and the boulders are gone, but the angles and the weird turns of the streets are still there.
So we have a dilemma, like Randy's saying. Like, he's only delivers small stuff.
Yeah.
So either we get a small van,
Right.
small stuff,
Right.
or you get a big van that can deliver everything, but it's tougher to park.
It's much tougher. You double park and you get a ticket. I mean, they give tickets in Boston to even UPS and Federal Express trucks, which I can't understand.
If anybody has any, maybe they can give us some tips on when we're ready to get a new van, what they think we should do.
Well, maybe when, my fantasy is, Patrick, when these drones have the capability of just...
Yeah, you're waiting forever for that.
Well, I don't know. Drones can lift a 400-pound payload from what I understand.
Yeah.
These moving companies, it's not going to take them long to catch on to that, right?
Maybe does Randy charge for his small deliveries?
He just said he charged $150.
Oh, that's him who charges? I thought you were saying for a company or something.
Oh, for a company's going to charge you for that. I don't know. Anyhow, so I'm waiting for the drone delivery service to come our way so we can just order it up, Patrick, and let the sofa fly away.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
Waiting.
Can you imagine? I never in my wildest dreams thought that heavy San Francisco sofa was going to end up flying through the air, going into that apartment.
I wish we were there to take a video to show everybody. That would have been
We
cool.
should have, yeah. We always miss our opportunities, Patrick.
Well, we wanted to just get away from the thing at that point.
We were so happy to walk away. I mean, it was so heavy. Even I hope Patrick's not embarrassed, but when we were taking it off the sofa, I went first, which is the easier job, and the casters are wheeling it. And Patrick's job was to reach,
Well, that's the
and
thing.
lift.
It's not all about strength. You have to have like a technique to it.
So
You can be the strongest guy ever, but if you don't know how to the way to
that's
do it.
exactly right. And we talked about this. There are 16 ways. Randy, do you know this? I'm sure he knows this. 16 different ways a sofa can be carried or put through a doorway. And if you want, I'll talk about it. You guys will figure it out. Randy knows probably. 16 ways. So the one way that you take a sofa on casters that's heavy out. Now remember, Patrick, you don't remember. We flipped it up on its wheels first. Remember?
Right, and you claim that you could have gotten into that elevator. I don't think you could have.
I might have been. No, I know I could have gotten it in, but I wasn't sure about it. It was so heavy that it would have been hit. One of those casters hit that mirror, and I would have been finished.
Oh.
So when Patrick, I think you guys might be interested in this. So we had it on its back for delivery because we didn't want it to go flying all over the place, and we had it on a cushion. And when we got there, we flipped it up on its feet, but the back, it would have to come out this way. And there's two ways. The person on the other end, which was Patrick, he's either on the front of the sofa. Sorry about this, you guys.
It's Jimmy.
He was either going to be on the front of the sofa, lifting it out of the van, or on the back of the sofa. Being on the back of a sofa is essential. That's why, Patrick, when I came out, I took a turn, and I told you to take the back, right? You remember that part, right?
Yeah.
But then what happened is the sofa is so heavy, he's reaching like this. And he was smartly said to me, I don't know how I'm going to do this because he knew that if he was reaching for a 500-pound sofa, he's probably going to throw his back out, pretty much. He knew that the equilibrium wasn't there, so I said, Patrick, come down this end.
Well, the main issue is the height of that truck. If it was our van, I would have been able to do it. It's lower because the height of the truck was...
I asked you to come down because I couldn't ask you or describe to you what you had to do, and you wouldn't have believed me if I don't even know if you saw what I did. But the customer was watching, okay?
That's another problem.
That was another problem. The customer's watching, and I think he was watching not out of meanness, but out of curiosity. I think he was completely amazed that we could lift this thing. That's what it was.
With no complaints towards them. They were really good
they were nice
customers.
So what I had to do was I sat down on the tailgate, and I asked Patrick again, move a little bit more, and I actually put it on my lap. I took the sofa down, put it on my lap, moved a little bit, moved my butt over a little bit, asked Patrick to move forward, and then I lifted it up from there. But what I was doing was I was gaining equilibrium. It was kind of a, if you're a gymnast, it's kind of like a move, a 10, I did a 10 off this sofa. So all this, you wonder, is it all worth it, Right, Patrick?
I wish that your story does it justice. I wish we had a video, though, the whole thing.
Well, I'll tell you what the customer said.
I thought it was funny, those two guys who worked at the place. They came out of nowhere.
I know.
I saw them one minute, and they saw us come in, and they knew something was bad was going to happen. These two guys came out of nowhere and said, "You can't take that up." Didn't even know where they came from.
Well, the customer was funny. The customer was whispering things in my ear like, "Wow," things like that. He was amazed, but I really amazed him at one point. Patrick was we were wheeling it in, and Patrick was going over the threshold, the little threshold there, the really small threshold, Patrick.
Yeah.
You had to lift it up, and when it was time for me to lift it up, I put my foot underneath and I lifted it up with my foot. I don't know if you saw that.
Right, I think this is definitely one of our most interesting.
You had to bend over to do it, but because you had to. But I knew that I could lift it up with my foot. I mean, the whole sofa up with my foot over that, and the customer's behind me, and he's going, "Wow." It was fun. It was fun, you guys. We could talk about it now.
It was so fun that we could spend a whole Q&A on it. I mean, that was like one of the most interesting deliveries we've ever had. I wish we were there for the crane part.
The expert person on the crane, 5 minutes. And you tell me, he must know about balancing things and securing things and all that.
Oh, you let the machine do all the work.
It's more than that, though. When you're controlling the machine, you gotta kind of fit the sofa into the apartment too.
Yeah.
That's not easy. I guess they got a guy specialist that just does that at that moving company. But anyhow, let's move on now to some of these comments we have on YouTube, right, Pat?
You already got Janine's.
We have Deb. She says, the Bentwood Rocker restoration. Am I starting in the right area, Patrick?
That's fine. You can do that one.
Fantastic video series. Just bought an old Bentwood and had no idea how to remove the old seat and back. Seeing this shows me how it's held on. Thank you. Which is part of half of the battles on some of these pieces, knowing how to take them apart, right? You can really ruin a piece of furniture if you don't know how to do that. This is from a person. Fixing a pop button for free. My sofa's buttons don't have a metal loop on the other side. Instead, it has 2 metal strips that hooks up onto something inside the sofa. Oh, yeah, I know what she's talking about. So if you guys know what she's talking about, it's just these little clips that they're straight when you put them in, and then from the back of the sofa you spread them. These are not a desired button at all because you can't get tension on these. The whole idea about the slip knot with the loop button is that you can pull and get tension and then pull all the other buttons to the one that's further, to the one that's the most tension. Do you know what I mean? So these, it doesn't give you any opportunity to do that. So oftentimes on these you can see the different tensions, at least I can. So she's kind of with the with the instructions that I gave her, she's a little bit out of luck with that button unless she can. She's going to have to find a way. She either makes a button, she can go out and buy, I don't usually recommend this, she can go to a friendly upholsterer if she has one, and get a piece of fabric from somewhere else. She cannot use the fabric from the old button. A 2" by 2" fabric underneath the skirt or something, and make a button with the loop in it, because that's the only way it's going to work with those instructions. Those little, they look like, what do they call them, wing nuts. But flexible, do not work on the instructions that I gave you. So I hope that answers. We should answer her on the YouTube, Patrick, because not everybody watches this, right?
Yeah.
Catherine says on how to upholster 1860s. Here we go, Patrick. We get a lot. We get comments at least once a week on these.
Yeah.
Antique chair, webbing and spring. I'm restoring an Eastlake rocker at the moment. I have used the slightly wider back stripe webbing. I didn't know there were the different types. Is this critical? Well, the black webbing is going to sag more, and some people think that that's a good thing. Even on the red webbing will sag, but that will sag less over time than the black webbing will sag. The reason it's okay for any webbing to sag, especially on the seat with springs, is that all that tension on the springs is going somewhere. You'd rather have it go to the bottom. Usually it doesn't break the webbing, it will just sag the webbing. Eventually it will break, but many, many years it takes for that webbing to get dry. So either the black or the red will work. The black will stretch more. It's usually used for backs, although I don't use it for anything. I use the red for backs and seats. But it is a good quality with the springs. Over the years, manufacturers have tried to upgrade that system, and they've gone to nylon, and they've gone to those metal strips to try to flatten the bottom for their customers don't see that sag, without realizing that that's actually worse, because what it does is it sends the springs up, and in no time at all the springs at the top, because they also use a nylon twine for the tops, and they slip and the springs tilt, and this doesn't take long at all, you guys, because you're talking about a lot of tension. So the old traditional way, and those very wise people that were in the industry back then, in my opinion, they've not improved on it. They've not improved with jute webbing, usually the red, with a hand tied, or later on they use a clinch it, which is fine, coil springs and the 8-way tie and the burlap, and from there it doesn't really matter if you use a horsehair or synthetics, but it's that integrity is those first ingredients I talked about. They've not been able to improve on that. Nope.
Janine, following up about the second comment, I think, with the button. Making a button string at a certain measurement create the exact depth of tufting? Marking the string, I mean, so each one is tied in the exact same measurement?
You always have to go with, because you're dealing with materials too when you're pulling the button. You always have to go with the tension. You first pull it. Don't pull it tight, real super tight, the first button. You pull it. Let's say you got 100 buttons. You're doing a sofa. You're in the middle. First tufted. You pull it. Don't pull it all the way. Just, I would say, taut is the expression. And then all your buttons are put on that. And then you have a friend standing on the other side telling you from the middle out, where to pull the button. You go to the button that is, after you're all done with that 100 buttons, you go to the one that's pulled the most and go off that one and have a friend tell you. And your friend will say, that one has to be pulled more, don't touch that one, go on to the next one, and so on. But I know that that's too logical of the way she's thinking about it. It's more like how an engineer would do it. And engineers really get messed up in upholstery. They really do, Patrick. I've had some funny exchanges with engineers. That's what I like about upholstery, because there's this little, unknown and mystery, and no, you can't take the twine and mark it and expect it to still come out the right way. And upholstery is full of things like that, where logic sometimes doesn't come into play. I heard engineers use the word counterintuitive. Upholstery is counterintuitive. I've heard that a couple of times in my class. So, when I teach people, it makes me a better upholsterer and better understanding of what we do. There's a lot of art form to it. Like, I know some painters, for instance, they have their own colors that they mix with their own ingredients, and it's their color. Let's say they do a red. It's their red. Nobody else does it, because they're the only ones that know that.
Is that
right?
true, Michaela?
Did you ever hear that, Michaela?
People making up their own colors.
People have their own, like, they'll mix their own color, and it becomes theirs. They don't tell anybody what they use as far as the things like that.
Same thing with like recipes.
With recipes, right.
A few follow-ups. So Randy says maybe cut off the prongs and put in a small screw eye. 50-50 chance it'll work to repair the button.
If you're going to be using it, what they're trying to say is trying to devise a way of reusing that particular button with the method that I teach. So that remember that you need to have the slip knot when you're doing this. So it has to be a twine that runs smoothly from the back of the button. The loop is the best, but so you have to. I'm not sure if that will work with the pulling. It has to be a real smooth pull too. That's why the loops are the desired. But you remember, you're putting a button on that you're not wanting to take the outside back off. That's the whole idea of that video. So you're doing it from the front using a slip knot, and I have two of those. One with the German needle, which is fine, and the other one is with that home remedy. Somebody said, well, why? If it's a $10,000 sofa, why don't you just buy the kit that you guys have and be done with it? But I think we want to offer both. We're trying to offer both alternatives, Patrick, there.
Yeah, that's completely free.
Somebody might not have, they wear $10. I don't know. But I think it's interesting to come up, speaking of engineering, that would be an engineering method, I guess. I don't know. But it has to be smooth. So I guess if I'm thinking about it, it'd be kind of hard to clip those. Maybe you could clip one of those wings off, and then take the other one and bend it to make a loop. But you need to do something about the sharp edges, because those things have little sharp edges on them. But if you can find a way to get twine around that, maybe file it off a little bit, maybe that would work. What do you guys think? Any other comments, Patrick?
Yeah, Sylvia says, how do you feel about the support called sagless? It is a synthetic fabric that resembles burlap. It's called sagless.
I don't like it. Just the name alone, I think I know what she's talking about. The whole idea, it depends on what you're using, I guess. I mean, but if you're using coil springs, you want sag. You want it to sag over the years. I mean, manufacturers are notorious to make something look good in the beginning and maybe the first 4 or 5 years. It's getting less and less, by the way, you guys. It's getting like 2 years. It's getting like 1 year. But as long as I got a call the other day from a poor guy, he spent $2,500 on a sectional, which that's a lot of money, and he thought was a lot of money, but really for new furniture, it really isn't. And it was a low-end manufacturer, and he, was very disappointed. So they're good at with this sagless stuff and this replacements, with what we traditionally use in upholstery. They're only trying to get it to look showroom good and not practical. They don't want things to last a long time. They want you to come back. But what they're being caught here in this pandemic, and I've talked about this, is the fact that people are sitting on things more, and it's wearing out much faster than it was intended to. I mean, It was intended to last at least 4, 5, 6 years so that they come back. Now you're getting a lot of mad customers. It only makes my industry pick up a little bit, I guess. But I had somebody call, and they were complaining about the cushions, and I looked at a picture, and I said, well, I wouldn't change this out to foam. I mean, it was only a year old, or 2 years, whatever it was very recent. And I said, what about the manufacturer? They said, well, they offered new cushions with core. I said, I don't know what that means. It sounds like they're offering you another foam cushion. I can tell you it's not going to make a difference on this sofa. And they were charging them $130 per cushion to do that. They wouldn't even, and he had a warranty. You guys, be careful if you're buying new furniture, these warranties. Read the fine print, because every person I've ever talked to that had a warranty, they don't do nothing for them. They do nothing for them. This is really bad for them. I mean, I think it's such a dishonest thing in the new furniture business.
Janine says it's synthetic base for springs instead of jute webbing. I've seen it used on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't think I like it. It's like nylon. It's like nylon. Nylon. It's actually too good, in some ways. In a way, it's too good, meaning that it doesn't sag. I think that's certain working into with the coils. I'm only talking with the coil springs, Janine, with the coil springs. But anyhow, I hope that answers your question. This is an interesting one from Facebook, Patrick.
Right. We have that.
This is from Likey. Is that how you pronounce that?
Or like?
No, I think it's Licky or Likey. What is that, Michaela? Lyke. Like? I don't know. Likey.
I don't know.
Sorry if we're butchering it.
She's from Switzerland, so that should be a clue. Anyhow, she says, I don't know if this is an original womb chair. Do you have this up, Patrick?
Yeah, hold on. I have it up. Go ahead.
There are no staples at all in the chair. Everything was just glued and sewn. It was really interesting. It was hand sewn. Now that I have stripped off all the foam, if you could call it that, I am going to dare the experiment and reupholster it. Don't know yet if I'm going to use staples or also just glue and sew. Wish me luck. Well, it looks to me like she's got a fiberglass body there. That's what it looks like to me.
Somebody commented on it and said it looked like the one you did.
It does, and she's going to get great tips from this. One of the things that I like about this is that bottom left photo, Patrick. Mm-hmm. See all those cuts?
Yeah.
We show how to do that on that one. I think that she should take a look at that. I think it's going to really help her in upholstering this. But she's got a little bit of a problem because what she's done is she's taken the molded foam, and it is molded. She had to. I mean, it was pulverized. It was that latex, and which is as you guys know, is plant-based or tree-based. It's a natural fiber which just breaks down like that. The foam that we use today will last a good long time, unlike this. But she had to strip all that down. She's got to see, the hard thing about all of mid-century furniture when it gets into this shape is recreating it as it was new, and that's difficult. If you guys out there have ever done it, and what that means is that you can't do, most upholsterers that I know, every upholsterer, I don't care if they're commercial upholsterers or residential upholsterers, do not have the means to recreate molded latex. That's a factory thing, and you wouldn't want to do it anyhow because latex doesn't last. But the beauty about latex, though, when it first came out, was it was a material that was thin and it had body, pretty much, those two things. So you could do things like this curvy womb chair and really kind of almost impossible before that with, imagine, but traditional upholstery with all the heavy stuff that we use to try to make something look beautiful. It's all about making something look beautiful and desirable so that you could sell it, more or less. This was no exception. So she's got her hands full. What she needs to do, she needs to go to a 1/2 inch high density foam on this, nothing else, and she probably shouldn't put a batting in this at all. She needs to make sure that the fabric she chooses is something that has a lot of stretch. A wool is preferable. Nothing with a pattern or anything else. If you've seen that video that I do with the womb chair, I mean, I think I said in the video, every time I look at a womb chair, I said, this is going to be impossible. And then you do it, and you usually, with your little bag of tricks, everything has to come out on these chairs. And that means experience. Really intuitive, some intuition, but a lot of experience. I've done a few of these chairs, but every time I'm doing one, like I said, oh my goodness, this is going to be impossible. But it comes out all right. But one of the biggest things that people overlook on redoing these chairs is to keeping the aesthetics, keeping it really thin. I can actually tell the difference between an original womb chair, let's say it's in the Museum of Fine Arts, and a modern womb chair, same manufacturer, right? But I can see the difference in the bulk. So the newer ones have that much more bulk to them. So when you're doing custom, I can actually get closer than the manufacturer can. They don't like that, but I can. It's all about thinning it out and using the right material and actually the stretching and everything. I think they use too much padding for some reason. Maybe because they can't devote too much time to these because they're being mass produced. I don't know. But it's an interesting job. She has got her really work cut out for her. So I think that does it. Any other questions or comments, Patrick, for that?
No, I think we're good.
I think I wanted to talk about I think Janine or somebody or Randy likes this segment where I go over some of the work, some of the recent inquiries. By the way, I'll start with some work. We do have supplies that I've handpicked on the Broadway upholstery supplies. That's on the Upholstery on Broadway, right, Patrick?
Yep.
Upholstery on Broadway website, and we got a couple of orders. This is a typical order, I think. Maybe not so typical because they want cambric, they want 15. They don't mention how much cambric, by the way. Maybe 10 yards. 15 feet of rubberized horsehair. Patrick, this is interesting. You sold a tack staple remover. Okay, no, I thought that was something else.
You sold a staple gun.
That, not on this order, but yeah, that's what I was going to say. A roll of cotton, fiber flex welting, 500 yards. And so that's a local pickup, meaning the people coming into the shop. I don't think Janine would be getting a local pickup, Patrick, unless shipping's probably.
That'd be interesting.
Didn't she say the shipping would be more than getting shipping on something that she was wanting to get? Janine wanted to support us. Remember that, Patrick?
No, I think there was maybe her, but there was also somebody else from Australia too that was trying to get something.
But they were going to get something, and the shipping came out to be more than the airplane ticket over here, something like that. Oh, wait a minute. Did you see who this is from, Patrick?
No.
James Olsen.
Oh, I know. Yeah, Michaela told me. He finally got the shopping cart.
Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy, thank you.
He finally got the shopping cart
wow. Well,
to his car.
We were teasing Jimmy because that little shopping cart when you're shopping online, and we were saying that the shopping cart got a flat tire, it stopped, it's tilted a little bit because it's been on there for how long, Patrick? Finally.
A month.
Finally got that little shopping cart moving, and he took the plunge. Thank you, Jimmy.
Still waiting on the clinch it, though.
I could be a real jerk sometime, can't I?
I don't see that clinch it bought yet.
Yeah, he promised he was going to clinch it, too. You're right, Patrick. So we got a new submission. This is brand new. Let's see what this says. I don't know what this is going to say. I'll just read it. We're looking for a quote to reupholster 2 armchairs attached to 2 photos. The seat cushion is detachable. Additionally, we need to supply our own fabric, or we get it through you. We definitely cannot do. I'm telling you, it's a nightmare these days. In over 40 years, you guys and Randy, all you guys who are professional upholsterers or taking on work, make sure you sell your own fabric, man. At least you know where it's coming from. Study what the fabric line is, what your fibers are, and sell your own, because I have seen some horrible fabrics coming my way, especially in the faux leathers, vinyls, and leathers. It's just ridiculous. I don't know what's going on, but people are cutting corners, or what's going on. I think the pandemic has something to do with it. I think staffing, it's like restaurants. You go out to restaurants, you have to be very patient if you're going to dine these days. That that they don't have the staff that they need to run a small business. I can relate to that. But I could control some things, and one of them, so in this inquiry here, we're going to say, please let us know right up front that we sell our own fabrics. We don't have to go into great detail unless they want us to. And so I'll show you a picture of what they have. These are interesting. interesting in a, wow, how am I gonna do that type way? Do you see that, Patrick? Is that,
Just put it like right up
Yeah, right next to it.
is it still on?
Yeah.
there and let it, yeah. It'll
So do you wanna answer this alive, Michaela?
Yeah, sure.
So on that one there, we need to get at least $975 for labor now for each chair.
Randy says customer's own material will burn you every time. Usually the customer never buys enough.
And that's another problem. And they're buying fabrics with flaws, and that could be the reason why you run into problems or lack of fabric too. So you got that right, $975. So the other thing that we need to do on the initial estimate is let them know how many yards, Randy, of fabric. And I'm going to look at the other picture because it's a side picture. So now I see that the fabric, this is very important. I'm going to show you this picture too. You see that the fabric goes all the way to the floor. It's upholstered all the way to the floor, so that's more fabric. So I'm going to say 7 yards a piece on this. And by the way, that is close. I don't want to be overestimating on the yardages. There was a local company, they're out of business now. They made tons of money. They did not close because they went bankrupt or anything. There was a whole nother reason why they closed. It's a long story. But they did very well. And one of the reasons they did well was because they overestimated all their yardages. They would look at this and say you need 12 yards a piece. So most customers, when you, Randy, is Randy still on there, Patrick?
Yes.
Randy, 12 yards really, right? So they would say 12 yards each, 24 yards for these two chairs. Customer doesn't know. Usually a customer won't question it because they don't know. Most people don't know. And if they did question it, the person would rationalize it. Well, you have a repeat, which is a bunch of baloney. A lot of times repeats of baloney. In upholstery fabrics. I can work with my original estimates usually on an upholstery job with upholstery fabrics, because upholstery fabrics, what people don't realize is that the repeats do not usually go over 15, 16 inches because of the milling process. You're never going to get, it's very unusual in upholstery, maybe crewel work, which is the only exception, which is really big. I don't even use that anymore. You only get these big patterns when they can do it on pritz and drapery weight fabric, or lousy fabrics really, that you shouldn't be using upholstery. So it's another reason why I hand pick my fabric. What I do, as you guys know, is to educate people. I'm not in business to rip people off. I'm never going to be a millionaire for sure. Maybe not even anything close to that. But at least at night I can go home and lay my head down. It's just so bad for the industry when people do this. 12 yards a piece for that. I'm saying 14 yards for both of them. So can you imagine how much money you could make by being dishonest in this business? It doesn't pay. Trust me, it doesn't pay to be dishonest. You guys know that. Everybody that's watching me knows that. But it gets my gander up a little bit, though. It really does. When there's that much, like the low quality on the manufactured furniture, and then telling people they need a lot more fabric than they do. And I hate to say what they do with that extra fabric, or maybe they don't even order it. Maybe they have the real amount that they need. I'd hate to think that it's that bad, but we got a live. Oh, that's you saying it's live, you too. Well, let's move on to the other one. So you got all that information, Michaela?
Yeah, we've got several others too.
So tell me which is the next one.
Maybe one more. Already an hour in done.
It looks like the next
all right.
one is going to be
Jimmy's gonna be here soon.
Carl Anderson. It has 2 in it. It's the first one.
Carl Anderson.
Yeah, it's in all caps. Looks like a channel back.
I see Sally.
No,
Oh, that's not her.
no.
I see Kylie. Kaylee?
Let me see.
Or Celia, sorry,
Yeah,
Celia.
it's the one above that.
Okay, Carl. Okay, so guys, this is a channel back, which Jimmy is doing, right? We're actually going to be cutting Jimmy's channel back today. The back of it is. So that's a channel. Channel backs are harder to do, you guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to say $1,100. That's Boston prices labor. Everybody's over. Randy's probably salivating over that. I'm not sure if Midwest has those type of pricing. Maybe around where he is, around Milwaukee, maybe. But around here, that's probably, I would say that's middle or maybe a little high middle. But that's not the most expensive. I mean, people are charging more than that, and people are charging less. It depends. Really, demographics and geography has a lot to do with your pricing and accessibility to your shop, things like that. Also, the fabric on that, Michaela, you need, I'm going to say 8 yards on that, okay? Guys get that? And then the one below that?
Yeah, 1 sec.
So we'll go through these, you guys, and we'll get like 22 to 25%, I think, is what we get on our sales. So we spent a lot of time doing this, working out pricing. These are the things that you don't really factor in a lot of times to your day. Plumbers are the best at keeping track of their time, for sure.
All right, yep.
So the next one's a typical wing chair. I shouldn't say typical, actually. The wings on this one are very dramatic, very curvy, a little hard to do. So your fabric selection is important on this, not to get anything too stiff on this, to get around those curves. Again, another reason why you want to show your own fabrics. So that one there, I would say 1,100. She's got some tacking in there. We're not going to get into that yet. We're not going to go into too much detail with these estimates because, like I said, 22%, 25% of them, if there's a second conversation we can get into, do you want the nails? So the 1,100 covers me and 8 yards of fabric on that, Michaela. So that covers me for that. I don't usually like saying, well, it has the nails and tack it on, and then I'm going to tack on if it needs new work, if it needs new foam. I try not to do that. It looks like a down cushion, so she can reuse it. So you have to be quick with these because 75% chance you're not going to even get a second call, right? So the next one.
Next one would be there's 2 of them here, but the name you'll see it says Lawrence.
Not Ann. We took care of that.
Yep, I took care of that already. They actually said they have their own fabric. So,
This is the hard part, you guys. I got a Martha Washington chair here. They have their own fabric. I mean, it could be burlap. How do I know? And the problem with this having your own fabric, you guys, you see the bottom part. You see the bottoms of the seat and the inside back.
well, this one doesn't have their own fabric.
Right.
The one I had said Anne has their own fabric they want.
So you already answered
Yeah,
that
I already
one.
answered her on
So
that one.
this one here, when we're looking at fabrics, we need to make sure we get something that is suitable for those curves. There's a really tough curves to upholster around. So another good reason, right? I mean, we are losing labor work, but maybe not if the fabrics are that poor. Is this a Donna one, something that we?
The Martha Washington. Are you?
Oh, the labor on that one, that's really not they're calling it a Martha Washington chair, but it really isn't. That's not a Martha Washington chair. That's more like a Hepplewhite or something. I bet Randy's good with furniture. I bet he knows. I wouldn't call that a Martha Washington chair. I would probably just call it a side chair because I'm not having the time to look it up. But it's not a Martha Washington chair. But that's okay. She can call it that. It's fine. It's fine. But that one there, we're going to get we're going to say $425 labor and 3 yards of fabric. Okay.
Okay.
And then we got another one there, the bomb wing chair and sofa and chair. Is that the next one?
Yep. Yep.
This would be
Balm.
considered, you guys. This is really high end furniture. That I'll probably get this because she knows that it's high. I don't have to tell her that it's high end
So it looks like
furniture.
you have a wing chair, a sofa, and then a separate chair.
Sofa. If you notice the cushioning on that sofa, you guys, high end cushioning, right? And then the club chair. The club chair probably of all 3 pieces might be more of a modern, but not a bad club chair, but more modern. But the other 2 pieces, like, really
All right. So
expensive.
let's start with the labor on the wing chair.
1,108 yards. The sofa, you got that?
Yep.
Sofa 2,200, you guys, and I'm just with the fabric amounts, right? We have to be fairly quick. 18 yards of fabric, okay? And then let me know when you're ready for the club chair.
Yep.
Club chair, 1,200 labor and 9 yards.
Alright. So that one's all set.
Are we caught up?
I believe, actually there's one more up at the top. It's the second email. Replacement cover of daybed.
Oh yeah. So this is, I'm not sure about this one. So we have an attached day bed. Let's just show you that, you guys. So I'm not too thrilled about this yet. An attached.
I'm not sure if because they say heavily soiled by our kids, if we can supply the materials.
And they're asking just for a labor cost.
Well, yeah, so they're saying if we can supply the materials, how much does it cost to do the cover? So they want to use their own fabric.
Yeah, just tell them we don't use customers' own fabric, and just leave it like that.
Okay.
I'd rather they don't follow up to that, because I'd rather not do that job. Those are always tricky. They never come out great. Okay, and we're having a good show today. Any more comments, Patrick?
Yeah, Randy was mentioning it's a little high for his area.
Yeah.
My area's a lot different.
What? Yeah, I figured Randy for
He would have done about 900 on channel back.
great. That's my next question. Would have been how much would he have charged? So
he's enjoying the segment. I think people are like this.
So he's about, percentage-wise, he's about 15%, 10% less than, 20% less, which would make sense to me, where he is. So in the Boston area, we have pricing that's really interesting. In Boston proper, you could command almost double my prices, believe it or not. Believe it or not. Like if I was next to the design center and working with designers, I could demand double. That's amazing. But you're paying a lot of money for rent. So it's really interesting how that works. If you own your own commercial property, you're in the best shape. I know people who have their own commercial property, they're just doing great. Imagine not paying rent.
So somebody actually just responded to our response.
Oh, that's good. Let's see what you guys get to see it in action here.
So this was Julia.
Okay,
So it's the first email that comes up.
I see it.
She says, "Thank you for your email. Would this include repairing/reinforcing the existing padding/structure as required, or just replacing the fabric over what is currently there?"
Yeah, that's a good question she's asking. Very intuitive. Which one was this? Was this the one with the multiple pieces?
It
Oh, that was
looks
with the
like-
two
that was-
chairs.
Yeah, the two chairs that are. Yeah.
You could tell her that it covers, the basic labor cost covers any minor repair. I'll go slow here because I know you're writing it. You all set?
One sec.
Let's just put this up to show people. This is the customer. It's already replied to us.
Right, so the basic labor cost covers minor repair.
Minor repair underneath, and removing all the old fabric, sprucing up with the half layer cotton if needed. Let me know when you're caught up with this. I usually would follow up by saying these do not look like there's any major structural problems, at least from the photograph. We may, however, recommend, you guys see the piping on that? This would be the time, because, if she's responding this quick, it's probably going to be worth, going into a little bit more detail or a little bit more effort, right, guys? We could say, but we may recommend a smaller piping. Did you notice how big the piping is, Michaela?
I actually didn't look at it.
Looks
Oh,
like
wow,
rope.
yeah.
So this looks like rope, you guys. I don't like it. I know that it's the design of the chair, but I think the design of the chair would look very nice with the 5/32 weld cord that we use. You could throw that in there and impress it if you want. 5/32 weld cord. Sounds like we know what we're doing, right, guys? So we went way over, didn't we?
Yeah, it's an
Patrick.
interesting segment.
Wow.
I like it.
I guess I had the energy. Maybe we should do them sooner than later, because by the time we do it at 4 o'clock, we're usually a little tired.
You said the 5/32.
5/32 weld cord, which is more of a universal weld cord. It's universal for a reason. Usually when you hear that word, you guys, universal in upholstery, I use it universal on the weld cord, the single weld cord, universal double weld cord, 5/32 also, by the way, a universal French nail, things like that. Off the top of my head, those are the only things I can think of right now. But the reason they're universal is because aesthetically, they just are pleasing to the eye. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, no further explanation is needed. I sound like Christopher Walken. I need more cowbell. I don't know why. I feel like Christopher Walken right now. I'm stating the obvious, maybe. That's why, Patrick. But
Have you ever gotten a customer who wanted the old fabric back, Randy Adams?
oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
More than you think. Yeah,
Janine says, are they 80s chairs?
they look like 80s chairs, those last ones, Janine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Universal, I just wanted to tell you a little story about that. There was a book I read. It was called Blink. I can't believe I remembered that. B-L-I-N-K. It was a story about art and how one of the stories in there was about Michaela. Do you know that book Blink? B-L-I-N-K. You should check it out. As an artist, you might be interested. I don't read too many. I haven't read too many books lately. Shame on me, but I used to be an avid reader when I had more time. But in that book, I remembered a very famous museum got caught buying a sculpture that was supposedly made by, let's say, Michelangelo, somebody really famous, a really good sculpture. And people they went through the whole process. They bought it, and then they went through the process of setting it up, opening up the display, and having people come in and looking at it. And people would come in and go, scratch their heads. Novice people, lay people, something quite not right about that, And the reason and then they got caught. They finally realized themselves that they had a fake, they had a forgery.
I actually did find one more quote submission.
Okay.
Actually, I found 2 of them.
Do you want to do that now, live?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Do you want? It's kind of far down. You want me to show it to you?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh yeah, show it to me here. So while Michaela's doing that, it was the people, the visitors, the ordinary visitors, some with maybe experience like Michaela, but even just lay people, there was something not quite right with it. And that when I looked at those chairs, there was something quite not right with those chairs, but I picked it up immediately. It was the piping size. I mean, I know that it was done to be different,
Right.
but that doesn't mean it's right? That doesn't mean it's going to look, just because different doesn't always mean good, I guess. I don't know if you guys agree with that. Couch cushions. Well, this is an interesting one. I'm glad Michaela, before we signed off, found this. Services needed. Couch cushions have gotten saggy. Would like to restuff them with new stuffing so it is more supportive! ! I think there are 2 seat cushions that need to be restuffed plus 2 back cushions. They're saying they think, right? So that means that they've got I think we responded to this.
No, there isn't a response.
But anyhow, I don't automatically assume that what I do to something is going to make an improvement. All right. Usually, I don't know anything about this, so the reply would be, probably would be, I need to know how old this is. You know, what's in it now. They don't tell me that. So I have to be kind of a detective, an upholstery detective, to figure this one out, because I'm not going to just say, you need 2 spring and down cushions in the seat and 50-50 down on the back, which is the supreme seating, which would be great. I love that sale. But is it going to make a difference? Is it going to make a difference? It probably would. But usually I find if they didn't spend a lot of money on this, they're not going to pop for that, because seating actually sometimes can end up being more expensive than the project, than new, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't want to waste too much time and just ask and we'll expect a reply back, right? That's all. So, you know, we'll spend a little time on that.
And then there's one more if you go back, it's just a couple of ones up.
Which one was that?
Let me see. Yeah, and this is the last one.
Boy, we talked about a lot today. One more, you guys, and then we'll let Janine go to sleep unless she's already gone, Patrick.
Oh,
She's still there?
Randy's gone. Randy had to get lunch.
Is Janine still there?
I'm not sure.
Zara. Okay. This is a... Hold on a second. She doesn't say anything. She just says she has services needed, 5-seater couch. I assume she wants it upholstered, so we'll just give an upholstery estimate. She's actually got it's a sectional. It's not a couch, it's a sectional, which is a big difference, you guys, right? So she's got the equivalent of two love seats and a side chair and a club chair corner piece. That's a lot of upholstery, okay? So I can tell you right now off the top of my head, we're going to go $3,800 labor. And she needs, let's see, oh, 24, and she needs 36 yards of fabric. And that's it. And you thought upholstering was easy. It's not all slip seats, right, Patrick?
No.
Once in a while you get a 500-pound survivor of a San Francisco earthquake. But anyhow, that should do it. You guys, Jimmy's going to be coming in. He's going to be surprised that we've already done this. But that's okay. He's full of surprises himself. Who knows what stories he's going to have.
Thanks, Janine, for finally she caught a show.
Thank you, Janine.
She's still there. She watched the whole thing.
Wow. I don't know if I
It
was
worked out good. She finally got to see one. Yeah.
That is good. That was fun. So hopefully we'll remember to do this type of segment, Patrick. Mm-hmm. We added a couple of things this show. So we'll see you next time, you guys, and thanks for tuning in.
Bye, guys.
Didn't even get to this.